Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Carolyn Lowell. I'm the Chief Content Officer at OrthoWorld, and I'm happy to invite you to our session on why automation provides a big boost to manufacturing productivity. I'm going to be moderating this session today, and joining me are John Phillips and Jeff Richardson. So John Phillips serves as president of the Implants and Instrument Division at Philips Precision Medicraft. He has guided PPM through what he proudly refers to as the automation revolution. These automation initiatives have dramatically enhanced PPM's manufacturing capabilities, capacity, and efficiency, reinforcing its position as a leader in high-quality, high-volume precision manufacturing of complex orthopedic medical devices. And Jeff Richardson is the Industry Solution Director for Critical Manufacturing, focused on elevating customers' manufacturing operations and quality for Industry 4.0. Jeff has worked with life sciences companies throughout his career, delivering sustained performance gains. For more than 30 years, Jeff has worked through all aspects of the value chain to validation. So please join me in welcoming our panelists.
Thank you.
And thank you to the audience for being here today. You know, I think anyone in orthopedic manufacturing knows that speed, cost, and quality are really staples for the industry, right? And companies are looking for ways to add automation and digital tools to their manufacturing to work more efficiently, increase capacity. And OEMs are also, they're setting the expectations for their partners, whether they're contract manufacturers or software companies that they're working with, to help them embrace these initiatives that are going to allow them to drive agility in the manufacturing process. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation today. It's going to have two diverse perspectives. John's going to share a little bit about what he has done on the contract manufacturing side. And Jeff's going to be talking about how he works with OEMs and contract manufacturers on the software side to really, again, make more automated manufacturing processes and add agility to the process. So we are going to leave some time at the end for questions. Start thinking of those as we're going through the panel discussion. And are you two gentlemen ready to get started?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do it.
Excellent. Okay, so our first question, just to get the audience a little familiar with both of you and this topic, can you just share maybe some specific examples of how your work in this industry has driven innovation specifically for your customers?
Sure.
I'll start with you,
Yeah.
John.
Well, we start at the beginning then. For us, it was a perfect storm, kind of. We bought our first Makino, which was a robotic-assisted piece of equipment back in 2019 early. And just as we got this thing ready to rock, that little COVID thing came and pretty much shut us down on most of what we manufactured. Although we did have one spine customer that decided they were going to do a lot of NPI work during this time frame when they weren't really selling parts, but they were going to develop parts. And we were lucky enough to be in the forefront with these folks. And these were the first parts we put onto our robotic equipment. And boy, did we start to learn some things about machining that we just had no idea about. Makino was a great company. You need the support from the machine dealer out of the gate to get acclimated with the technology. But once you start moving with it, it's pretty interesting. You could buy the equipment, have the robots, and make parts, but you got to make good parts. So there's lots of little different things we learned how to do after we actually got the machine set up, programmed, and ready to run. In regards to that, I think the flexibility was huge for us. We only had one or two of these machines in, but as we went, I told the customer, I said, look, if you keep coming, we're going to keep buying you equipment. And we ended up buying 7 pieces of automated equipment for this one spine customer. But the beauty of it was, and that was for the capacity to manufacture the products that they were working on. So it was a 4-launch deal. And we finished up somewhere in 2020, 2021. But I think the big deal here was you're able to bring a pallet down in the daytime when the humans are there, and all the quality support and all the things you need to get a new product off the machine. And normally in the conventional days, once you were done with that, you'd go home, it would still be there, but nothing would run because it wasn't ready to run. Here, because we had 19 pallets in the EC80, we just brought the next production job down at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we ran all night on the second shift. And then we ran an unattended third shift with no humans whatsoever, which we'll talk about how that's a neat trick later on. But I think it was real key to our customer in that we were able to keep up with not only the MPI and the development of the project and bring it to life, but we were also had that burst capacity for these guys when we were ready to fill all these cases and trays up with every one of the sizes they needed on the launch. So I think that was a big benefit. We could have never got this done. We would have never secured that business without this equipment and how we treat machining these days. So that was our experience with us and our customer.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And Jeff?
Yeah, kind of dovetailing off what John was talking about, automation to add capacity, automation to really supplement human capability. What we found is that innovation really kind of starts with optimization, and it's not necessarily trying to replace humans. There's a lot of roles that humans still need to fulfill. It's more along the lines of trying to reduce the opportunities for human error. And so what we found is that when you start to do automation of equipment, grabbing that data directly out of the equipment, or even being able to pass data directly down to the equipment, linking together systems so that systems start to speak to each other, now you're starting to take away those opportunities for human error. And that goes all the way through to the DHR, right? So instead of actually having people trying to remember to fill out every line in the DHR, trying to not forget to write down the data entry into the DHR, now you have a system that actually does that enforcement and does all the recording for you. So you're taking away the opportunity for human error. And that's what we found is probably the most traction building kind of a thing when we think about innovation. It's through optimization.
I'm going to, real quick, just see who's in the audience. I should have done that before. Who in the audience is an OEM or is primarily working with an OEM? And then who's contract manufacturers? Couple? Okay, about half and half. Great. Jeff, given the strict regulatory environment that we're in orthopedics,
Yep.
How does MES software really help manufacturers balance the need, the compliance piece with the ability and need to innovate?
Yeah, of course, when you think about compliance, you automatically start to think about Part 820, 21 CFR Part 11, and those types of things. And we have our own compliance document for those types of regulations. But I think it gets more simple than that. It's really about enforcing business rules. So what I mean when I say that, I mean making sure that you're using the correct materials, making sure that the person that is doing the work on the line has been trained properly, that their certification is up to date, making sure that the right instruments were used to actually create the part, to build the product in your manufacturing operation. So that enforcement is really key. Also, making sure that you've got a full audit trail of all the transactions that have happened in your system. And when you think about an MES piece of software, which is what my company provides, it does those two things kind of automatically. It enforces business rules. It records every transaction so that the DHR is really kind of just a natural outcome of the MES system. And so what that means on the downstream end, where you typically have quality people who are spending tons of time looking through DHRs, you can now refocus them, because if everything was done correctly at the beginning and throughout the process, if everything was recorded, you don't have to worry about trying to find that place where the operator missed a line or forgot to have an initial or forgot a signature. They can actually focus their effort on where the quality problems really lie, and that's with exceptions. And so you can reach that point where you're doing release by exception.
And John, how has your focus on automation helped you move beyond conventional machining and really, improve quality, pricing, manufacturing agility?
Yeah, I could go on for a long time. There was so many benefits from this technology and how we now process these parts. Again, the equipment was first. You got to have a good piece of equipment. You got to have an accurate piece of equipment, because that speaks to the quality. These things are going to be running 22, 23 hours a day. They need to repeat. They need to be where they are, and they need to know what we asked them to do. Yeah. So that was the first piece, and we had that down with the Makino folks and a few others. So that lends itself to the quality of the parts. I think the repeatability, and the manufacturing setups that we had, where we were producing the same part over and over and over again to spec, where then you can get into AQLs and you can reduce inspections and things to that effect based on data. So that was huge on the quality side. As far as the pricing side goes, there's just so much more room to play with numbers when you know you're going to have a third unattended shift. That's the obvious piece. No humans in the house, but parts are still being manufactured. But even when humans are in the house, and it was weird because we were used to conventional machining, so we had these new kids who were so excited to run this equipment and get on this new technology. And I'm walking down Automation Way. We put a street sign up when we finished it. That's kind of what we call it. The humans were standing around the equipment, but it was daytime, so they were working. But they weren't working. They were watching the machines that run at night, run in the day. So really, the time for the humans is kind of the morning. We pick the fruit, we check the quality, we do some deburring work, we freshen tooling, we push a button, and that machine's good to go for another 6 or 8 or 9 or 10 hours during the day. So we kind of realized this and said, okay, what do we do now? Get rid of that guy? No, we need that guy. So we move humans to where humans need to be. We have 30 other machines that are conventional that need setup guys. So we were able to get our automation department running even in the daytime, and then move these folks off into other areas and add value to the product that we wouldn't normally have, which basically increased our capacity in those areas as well. So that was pretty much quality. And again, the pricing with those humans not actually barcoding into these things, then that cost did not come through. So we were able to offer it back to our customers, or whole price, whatever it may be. And then the manufacturing agility is just, it's amazing. There's so much you can do. Like I said, in the daytime when humans are there, if you're working on a brand new product or your queue setting, we kind of took some of this stuff to another level where we said, okay, we track reason codes, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. I don't want to steal your thunder, but there's ways to track these things where you can get in the right place at the right time and decide and make decisions on actual data that you see. And that's kind of how we move through it. But to bring down another pallet and work on the next size in the spine plate run and have it ready 2 days before you need it, guess what? Quality and first article inspection is no longer an issue. It's no longer a bottleneck because I don't need it till Thursday. You're making these parts. When they're finished, you're plugging in the next one you're going, and your queue set right down the line. These things never stop. And we have vehicles in place to measure the actual efficiency and performance, and we'll get to that as well on the data side. So I think those were the big things. And then just the burst capacity that you get from being able to manufacture products when you're not in the house and you come in. And I mean, I think the number in 23, we had a very, very busy year in 23. So a lot of people were buying a lot of parts. We checked our numbers. We made 70,000 extra components in the same brick and mortar space we had with this new technology than we could with the conventional. Why is that? A guy comes in and goes on break, the machine stops. If he goes to the bathroom, the machine stops. If he goes to lunch, the machine stops. When he goes home, the machine stops. These machines never stop. So I think that was the benefits that we realized from the automation piece.
Great. I will talk more about people, I think, later as well. But as you mentioned, you two are both very big data gurus from what I know from our last few conversations prepping for this. So what are some examples of how you really can turn data into actionable insights that help you then drive strategic decision making, for the business? So I'll start with you, John. Go ahead.
Sure, no worries. So yeah, when you look at that, so after we had got the equipment in and we learned how to use it and we started understanding all these concepts, that wasn't enough for us. I went back to get some more money for machine monitoring. You can come in and ask a human, how did that machine run yesterday? And 3 different humans will give you 3 different answers because it's their perspective. The data, the factory software that we're currently using measures spindle uptime. And it tells us what's going on with error codes and things like that. So we can kind of go through and see exactly what's happening at any point in time. But beyond that, each one of these automated pieces of equipment has a tablet associated with it. Why? Because the machine doesn't know one thing. It doesn't know why it stopped. So if it was for maintenance purposes, or I ran out of work, or I'm waiting for QC, we make sure that we hit these tablets and we tell the machine why it's down, how come. We run reason code reports at the end of each month. the most hours on a reason code is the one we go after. We talked about the QC one, so we pop this reason code in, and we're saying, wow, 100 hours on FAI in the month, that's not good. What do we do? And that's when we kind of started to understand, hey, we have another palette. Why don't we Q set this work? And we roll. And you can literally watch that data line split and go down to nothing. And you'll get your next actionable item from the data by the human that's reporting what's going on the equipment. So I think beyond the technology and the use of it, to respect the data is really huge, without a doubt. We're talking about real-time OEEs in your pocket on the way to work. The phone goes off. The AI guy just told me how the whole department ran. And it's in bar chart form. Where are we going? To the short bars, because that's where the hours were less. And now we can come into the shop and we know exactly where to go when we get there. We're not wondering how'd that run last night? Where should we be first? So we're able to get to the places that need attention immediately, right out of the gate, coming in with the real-time OEE. And then, we use Microsoft BI as well. We have AI pulling data from our ERP system, and it just gives us all kinds of information. So I had the team develop a couple of KPI sets that we don't deal with once a month, and that's kind of how we had done it. But anything we're measuring every single day. So the teams get together, we decide what's important, we feed it to the AI engine, it pulls the data, and it puts it in a format that we can all read and understand. And we're checking these things during the day, say, how are we doing? How many people are in the shop today? How much overtime have we had? How much downtime is there? All these things, whatever's important, comes back to us automatically. So I think it's a vehicle. If it comes to you, you pull it out of your pocket and you can make decisions based on it. You look at a scenario where we talked about that human in the daytime. Well, we just didn't let him go and leave his name in as the operator. We created an operator called robot. So when a human was going to leave a machine when humans were in the house and go do something else because the machine was running fine, we would say the robot's running the job. So we would set the machine as a robot. And then on the reports at the end of the month, we would check and see, all right, how many robot hours did we get? How about 2,000 extra hours a month over 25 pieces of equipment? That's insane. Forget about what's happening during the day. That's the extra hours. How are you going to do that? You buy another building and buy a whole bunch of equipment is how you do that. But we didn't have to. We just bought the right equipment, put it in the same space, and these are the benefits that we were getting from the technology.
And Jeff, what about you?
Yeah, well,
Turning data. Go ahead.
I will dovetail off what John just said. You were talking about how you expanded capacity, but you also improved consistency, and consistency is what drives quality. I can use a real-world example. I can't share the name, but we're working with an organization right now, and I can tell you the real-world things that they want to get out of our software solution, and they've run the numbers. They know that this will happen. Their first pass yield, speaking about quality, is 50% right now, mainly due to DHR errors. And they believe after they put in an MES solution, it'll reach 95%. They also said that they spend 40 hours just compiling the DHR and reviewing the DHR. And they want to take that 40 hours and move it to 40 minutes. They also told us they have 3 people per shift doing that work, compiling DHRs, reviewing DHRs. And they want to take 2 of those people and assign them someplace else and just have 1 person doing that. So those are real world examples. And I'll finish with this one kind of closing thought. We're at the point today where you can start to come away with actionable insights because data is so prolific. You could take MES data today and you can start to marry that with automation data, equipment data, environmental data, whatever, it doesn't really matter. And you can start to build that data together in context so that you can start to see when certain things happen, that means X, Y, Z, and therefore I should act this certain way. So I think we're there. We've been there for a little while now, and I think it's only going to get deeper, and I think we'll probably talk about that in just a minute.
Yeah, as we think about the future, well, AI was a topic we talked about yesterday, and it's a topic that was session was in this room just earlier this morning. So as we think about the future, how do you see that technology emerging, whether it's AI or Internet of Things, in order to advance, manufacturing productivity and automation?
Me?
Sure.
All right. I don't know. AI is fresh, man, and it's frightening, actually, to tell you the truth, for some of the things that you get back when you ask some questions. I think for us right now, it's about the fact that we're not afraid of it. We know it's there, and we know it's going to start to move really fast. We need to be able to keep up with it. So right now, I think for us, we're using it for a lot of research things. If we're looking for answers to questions and things maybe about equipment or maybe about a process or maybe about a material, we'll go to the AI engine and we'll ask those questions to get some really quick data back that we can work with in that regard. When you look at AI on a machine type scenario, I don't know if it's true AI, but we're telling the machine with its laser probe technology that's checking the tools what to do when you come to a specific condition, because like I said, if you're going to run, that third shift with no humans, you better be measuring the tooling. Otherwise, you're going to come into a bunch of scrap parts that don't meet spec. So with the laser technology and the ability to say, hey, when that thing drops below this diameter, I need you to either make an offset or I need you to go pick up the backup tool so we can continue to run. Providing all that stuff's qualified in prior, you're good to go. And it's amazing. You can take it anywhere. I mean, there was a scenario where we were making spine parts and, we were doing them automated. And we calculated, we said, oh, we're going to run out at 2 in the morning. What do we do? Well, we just happened to have a knee programmed in that same machine that was qualified, ready to go. This thing stopped running spine parts at 2 a.m. and then started running knees. Right after that, we came in, the machine was still running. So it's not like you have to wait to set up another product. It's already set up. And the key there is, you have to have enough tools in the ring and all that nice stuff. But once you have those things in place, you can tell this thing what to do and it will do it, providing on what you say, IoT, Internet of Things, has been around for quite a while. I mean, we've been doing, virtual facility tours for a long, long time, well before COVID and whatnot, although it came in very handy to be able to bring that live shop to someone who might be in Texas or Oklahoma or Tennessee, just so that they can see what they're missing out on, so to speak. So at any time, we'll throw that out there. Beyond that, virtual facility tours, and then the OEE stuff that we had spoke about as well. Things that come to you automatically. You don't need another human to come send this to you. You all decide, this is what we're going to track, this is how we're going to do it, and it shows up every day. So that's been our experience right now. How's it going to move forward, guys? I don't know, but it's going to move fast. It's going to move fast.
I bet Jeff has an answer.
I agree with that. It is going to move fast.
Yeah,
It's going to move
your
exponential. We've seen, I think there's 3 major waves of AI. And the first one was around machine learning. We actually have a machine learning module in our offering. It's basically taking data that you've collected from equipment over time, building a model, checking the quality of that model, and then having that model predict what is going to happen, right? So this comes into play for really complex operations. We worked with a customer once that was using a coding process for an implantable device. And it was really similar to chemical vapor deposition. And it took an hour or more to run through the coding process. But the problem was you had no idea about the quality that you were producing until after the process was done. So you had no idea if you need to tweak the pressure or tweak the density or whatever you needed to do. They had one person that ran the coding area of their operation. He retired, and after that, the quality went downhill fast. They actually brought that person back on, but that's an area where machine learning can come into play, because the machine learning can, in essence, replace that guru, right? The machine learning would understand what's happening in real time that's going to produce good quality parts versus bad quality parts, and then give you suggestions on what you need to change to make the good quality parts. So that's the first wave. The second wave is more along generative AI, things like large language models, things like that. We actually have something like that in our product today too. We call it the Cortex bot, and it enables you to type in a command or even just speak to the software just using your natural voice and speak like you would to a friend. And the Cortex bot will then kind of answer back, did you mean XYZ? Did you mean that you want to move this whip material into the step? And then you'll say, yes, that's exactly what I meant. And so it does it for you. So you can speak in your natural language, and it'll respond in kind. The last wave, and this is probably the most recent wave, is around agentic AI and also AI agents. I I'm kind of getting up to speed on this myself. I learned that these are two different things, actually. Agentic AI can actually start to solve problems for you. You might, if you've looked at ChatGPT or other ones, there's like a reason button or a think button, and it usually takes a little bit longer for it to kind of contemplate, but you can see its thought process. So that's agentic AI. AI agents, on the other hand, they take information based upon what they tried to do to solve a problem, and they refine it, and they refine it, and they refine it, and they keep getting better. So what that means is our organization is actively looking at ways that we can embed AI agents into our solution. That means that we can take the role of a deployed solution and have an AI agent take the job of being a maintenance AI agent or an exceptions AI agent, and they're managing those, a materials AI agent. They're managing all of those things. Also, on the other hand, you can think about, well, what about a rollout of an actual implementation of software? Couldn't we have an AI agent that builds graphical user interfaces? Couldn't we have an AI agent that actually is in charge of putting master data into the system that corresponds with a business rule set, of an OEM or whoever? Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't we even have an AI agent that does validation? Sure. And we have to validate the AI agent. And just like with any new technology, there's always challenges, but I think we'll find a way to overcome that. So it's happening fast. I saw a chart just last week about how oftentimes AI is moving so fast that organizations are having a very difficult time to keep up. And it's two different curves. Organizations tend to move linearly. AI is moving exponentially. So it's going to be a big challenge for us all. But I'm here to tell you it's here today.
And Jeff, sticking with you, how can manufacturers measure really the ROI of implementing these metrics, and maybe, what should they prioritize as they evaluate, their impact of implementing these initiatives?
Yeah. So I'll give you some real world examples. I mentioned the customer just a moment ago. Those were probably some really good ROI pieces, but it's all about improving quality, reducing time, reducing effort, and trying to get the ROI back, right? The cost of paper is tremendous, and it's tremendous in a lot of different ways because it drives inconsistency and it drives just wasted time. So by doing that, that's what we're looking for. And I can give you real world examples here too. So we're actually in the process of being installed at 45 sites, all of the B. Braun manufacturing facilities. And B. Braun has told us that they've improved their traceability and their quality as a result of doing the implementation. We're installed at a GE healthcare facility, actually a couple GE healthcare facilities, and they were saying that they've actually improved their OEE and their yield because of the solution. We're installed at all the worldwide sites of Jabil. I think there are 15 sites worldwide for the Jabil Healthcare Division. And their challenge was much more along the lines of trying to get ROI back on managing a variety of different kinds of requirements for all the different products that they manufacture, and to do it through a single system. So we've been able to help them through that. And then finally, I'll finish up with Ultradent. Ultradent was looking at some compliance issues when they first installed us. And now they said that we've absolutely reduced their risk when it comes to compliance. So I think ROI can be measured in a couple different ways, but those are some of the ways that our customers are telling us.
Do you have anything to add to that?
He's the pro.
He's the pro.
I'm learning from him as we speak.
Well, to send this back to you, you spoke earlier about just the human element, and given that there is such a significant cultural component to automation, how does this type of work better facilitate collaboration, maybe empower employees to help them focus on more high value activities?
Yeah, I think that this is one of my favorite pieces that I wasn't expecting to get back on the automation part of the business, but it was right there to be seen. I can tell you how many people I've taken for shop tours through the facility, and we go down Automation Way and they see 25 pieces of equipment with no people there and green lights, and they ask me how many lost their jobs. Nobody lost their jobs. There's so many humans behind the scenes that support what's going on out on that shop floor. It's just not feasible today, guys. So we are still relevant. What kind of things are we talking? Well, we start with the process. The customer sends us solid geometries. That goes to a process engineer, and we look at our schedule and our equipment sets and say, okay, what's available? Is this automation worthy? So we select a piece of equipment, and then we build a process around that machine and that equipment, and that's that step. Then it gets kicked over the fence to the crazy guys, and that's the application engineers, man. They can code stuff like I ain't never seen before. I mean, the parts are just awesome. But again, software piece, right? Jeff, I mean, you get that master cam thing and it starts running. There'll be AI there soon, someday too, in these
Without a doubt.
machining packages that we haven't even seen yet. But they're just amazing. And I say those guys bring the product to life. So you can have it in a computer, you can do whatever you want in there, but somebody has to bring it to life, and it has to be in spec when it gets here. So that's a great piece as well on the engineering side. And then you have your techs, right? And what do they see? Well, they see a company that's invested millions of dollars in equipment to continue to be a leader in the industry. I think that's a feel good for these guys, you got to have a culture in your facility, automation or not. We've been practicing this for years. If you're not all together and you all don't have the mutual respect of each other, you're probably not going to go where you really need to go. It's about humans working with humans. You got to set a tone in the facility where people aren't afraid to do this. I have an idea. I think we could do this way. I love that stuff. And I can't tell you how many times we've done it the wrong way, knowing it was the wrong way, just to do it, to take that suggestion and bring it through, and we all learn something from it. So I think that's a big piece to it as well. Beyond that, who wants to run a UR robot arm today? Who wants to learn how to run a DA300? Who wants to play with a kit of more? I mean, there was so many opportunities for these people now to move from the conventional equipment and move up the ladder and keep moving up in the company. And I think that's a huge thing for humans. They need to know they're not going to be sitting there doing the same thing every day. And, for us as managers and owners, it's so easy to let the guy who's the best bone screw deburr just deburr bone screws for his life. But you can't do that. You have to cross-train and move these people around. Everybody needs a piece. And not just because they all won't be there that day and you may have to slide somebody else in the spot. You just can't leave someone on something for years. You have to move them. So this really was very exciting to be able to move some of the folks that were doing some more of the conventional stuff and give them these opportunities to run these other pieces of equipment. That was a big win for us. An unexpected one as well.
Yeah. Has it changed any of your collaboration with your OEM partners as well?
I think we talk about it quite a bit.
Okay.
Because we talk about the victories that we've had, the capacities that increase, the accuracies that have increased, and it's just impressive to see. So if you're hunting that business and you're looking for that automation work, I think for us, the key to the city was get them in the facility, let's take the tour, and everybody's having a great time. They see it, we're a success facility, we practice our shine, we went through all that. So now we can see, and now we're looking at our process. I think they appreciate everything. They see the digital information. We have 3 96-inch monitors on our floor that are real computers, and we use them for all kinds of things. But mostly it's to get that digital information in its present form out on the shop floor immediately. Because you print a piece of paper with a dispatch sheet for what you're going to run this week, it's going to change as soon as you print it, or it's going to be old. So our guys actually are fighting to get to boards to find out what their next job is and things to that effect. So they're all great things to show the customer who maybe have not been exposed to these things, to say, look, we have control here. Look what we're doing, So that was huge for us, yeah.
We're going to open it up to questions in just a couple minutes, but sort of just to continue on what you're saying, I mean, what do you think the factory floor of the future looks like?
I think I got to go with Jeff on this one. I just think it continues to move in a digital way. I mean, we're not at that quality piece yet, although we'll be talking, my friend, because that's coming. And why we haven't done it yet, because it looks really hard. But to remove all paper for the facility, we really don't have any paper on our facility floor other than what we're required to have by the FDA, whether it be a routing plan or an inspection guide sheet. But even those things are digital in our systems, but they still require them out on the shop floor. The goal would be to have no paper out there. So you got to make that investment in the digital technology. And I think for us, the next big step is going to be that quality piece you were talking about, because it really is big. You know, you can't fix a part in inspection. All you can do is sort for quality there. Whatever's happening is happening upstream where it's being manufactured. That's where you need to find out what's going on, because that's where you're going to make an adjustment on a part to make it good, so to speak. So we learned lots in that regard as well. What's your spin, Jeffrey?
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I'll just go back to the AI topic. That's a huge investment for us. We were at a big summit this past week, an Industry 4.0 summit, and we were talking about roadmap for our product. And you should see there's AI all over the roadmap. So it's definitely, it's here and it's coming so much more faster. Now, what we haven't talked about, and we kind of talked about ROI just a moment ago, but we really haven't talked about what is the ROI of AI in a product like MES, right? And so if you do have those AI agents that are helping you with implementation, what does that mean? Well, that means that implementations now are cheaper. Implementations now typically are, on average 6 months. Well, now they suddenly become 2 months or maybe a month. So much faster. So the barrier to entry is going to drop, I think, in the next 10 years. Not only from a cost perspective, but from a time perspective. So it's going to be easier to adopt. Those AI agents are going to help you actually once a software system is installed. So it's going to be easier to use. So I think there's some really exciting things that are about to come and are coming right now. However, I'm not saying that to tell you, just wait 10 years, it'll be easy. No, you should get started today, because I will tell you this, there are organizations that it's hard to sometimes get KPIs out of the organizations that we work with, because they see what they've done as some sort of secret sauce. Like, this is my competitive edge. I'm not telling my competitors that I've done this because they might want to do it too. And I'm telling you that the people that have worked with us and they've done what we've talked about, they've seen tremendous benefits. So get started today. You're going to be so much better off if you start today as opposed to starting in 5-10 years.
Good point.
Do we have any questions in the audience?
Love you guys. You're the best.
No taker?
Let's go.
Oh, here we go.
So, John,
Hi.
what was one of your biggest unanticipated challenges in integrating automation in your facility?
That's a great question. The whole thing was challenging, actually. But you know what? I think with our new glasses that we had put on after our 5S and 6S, and we knew we were looking at things differently. We were excited about the challenges. So when one arose, it was fun to play with it. And we knew we were going to get a solution because we had the equipment, the technology, and the people to deal with it. But I would say just the overall culture of how these machines run. We talked about operators in the daytime being near a machine that really you don't need to be near because it runs all night by itself anyways. Those are the kind of things that were kind of aha moments for us as we walked through the facility and said, hey, wait, this dynamic has changed based on this automation. We're responsible for the waiting time in our facilities, not the guys. What do we have them do? So we would move them downstream, because I think the biggest challenge we found, we were so excited about cutting parts and making more parts on the automated equipment, we forgot that once you start sending them down the production line, well, guess what? You just created bottlenecks that way. So now you're jumping on, the finishing department, the passivation lines, all these 70,000 parts are moving to the same humans that are processing them downstream. So then now you're starting to look at, okay, where's my polishing robot coming from? How am I going to automate this process? How do I take it to QC? Things to that effect. So that we're still in the throes of figuring out. But I'd say the biggest challenge was the culture change itself. I'll never forget, I had one of the old timers standing in front of the DA300, and it was changing a pallet out during lunch, which meant there was another knee coming and we kept making parts. And for some reason, he was shaking his head. And I'm a big why asker, you know, because that's my style, right? I said, well, what is it you don't like here? What is it you see that, you know, and you just keep asking why, and you finally get to the root cause of it. He didn't really have an answer for me, but it was pretty amazing. So I think it was all about the culture change and how we thought about how we were going to use our equipment and what direction we were going to head in. So that's the answer to that one, Mike. Thank you.
Can I have a comment?
Go, man.
So I want to dovetail on what John just said. And what we've found is it's very similar for us to culture, adoption. Those are big things. We've had our most successful projects when somebody with a CXO title, you know, according to whatever they are, has sponsored a project. But even more so, if there's somebody that's a champion at the operational level that has been willing to kind of think a new paradigm, right? To be that guy that raises the flag on this is what we're going to do and this is the why for why we're going to do it. And to also think differently. One of the things that we have a challenge with as an MES organization is, especially if you're coming from a world of paper, a lot of organizations want to stay with that. They want to do what we call paper on glass, and that is not at all efficient. That's incredibly inefficient. There are so many things that MES can do. If you just limit it to paper on glass, you're really putting handcuffs on it, and you need to move out of the old thought process and into the new. And so it's a cultural thing. It really, really is.
So quick question. So going to the culture. So Johnny, on the automation, so how did that impact employee retention and impact the culture with the automation?
Yeah, going back to that, I think it was just I think it was the feel good that they were going to be able to step it up and move up and learn new things because somebody had to run this equipment, techs and whatnot. That was huge for us. And I think the investment piece, they saw that the company was actively investing in the company, which it's their company too. It's our company, really. So I think that really jacked them up to say, hey, this guy's seems to be making all the right moves, and it seems like we're getting opportunities to move up in the company. I think I'm going to stay here for a while. You know, and that's huge because I think one of the hardest things we do is in our positions is employee retention. You can hire the best guys in the world, but if you don't take care of your people, they'll find someone to go take care of them. You have to do this, you know. And I think that the technology and the investment wasn't just for the company itself to make more parts for our customers. It was more also for the employees and giving them opportunities and showing them what the outlook on the company is. And we're not done with this yet. We're going to keep moving forward, and we're going to lead the way. And that was kind of fun. And we all feel it, you know. If you take a walk through our facility, you come see me any day, I'll take you for a tour. Come unannounced because I'm not getting ready for you. We'll be clean and ready to go. They say, you know what, there's an aura in this joint. Because I'll be walking through, people will stop. Johnny, boom, boom, how's your kid? Happy birthday. Oh, you've been here 25 years. These are huge things. But in answer to your question, I think they really appreciated the direction the company was heading in. But we're sucking the questions out of them now. Look at them go.
Hey, John, so how do you engage your customers in the process, in the partnership of going from where you were in 2019 to the
You mean on the cost side?
all the way through the customers you had, and how did you engage them to bring them along, and the process changes, the culture changes?
Oh, yeah. So, well, that's fun. So, yeah, along with this, guys, there's that quality element, right? So all these things are process change requests, right? Because you're taking it, I get it, you're going from a fourth axis application milling machine to this other milling machine that's just doing it all in one shot, and it's going to feed parts into it. Big deal, right? Same stuff, not to the FDA. So that's a big challenge. So we did a lot of qualification, we did a lot of validation, we did a lot of SPC studies and things like that. Because I got to tell you guys, the exciting part about a lot of this wasn't the new work that we were plugging into this equipment. It was about the work we were gathering up from those other areas of conventional machining that said, hey, we make a few thousand of these a year. We need to kick them over the fence. Why? Well, the customer wants cost reduction. They don't want price increases. So you got to find a way, and you definitely can't do it by putting overtime on a machine that runs 4 to 5 to 6 hours a day on an 8-hour shift. So that was huge to our customers as well in that regard. And then, you know, you look at A lot of us sign MSAs and material agreements and whatnot. We just came off of one. So we signed up in 2019, just before COVID. We were able to hold the line on $20 million worth of business for 6 years, based on what we had done with that work. And obviously, we're coming to the end of the term. We have to make some adjustments now, but we were able to hold the line on popular production product for our customers. Majority implantables, but a lot of it was instrumentation too. So I think that's a feel good for the customer too, because they would drag me in those rooms when I was a younger boy and said, look, and Kenny will tell you what they say. Johnny, you need to stay on top of your stuff. You need to find better ways to manufacture your parts so we can keep costs in. And it was always the flavor. And that's exactly what ended up happening, So yeah, once you get through those pains, then they feel it, because getting a change done in the industry, depending on who you're working with, it takes some time. But it's well worth the work, for sure. Yeah. Hope I answered your question, Dave. Kenny, what's up?
How you doing, Johnny?
I'm all right. How you doing, brother?
So when you look at your portfolio, and like you said, you're deciding what's going on in the automation line and what's not. How do you have like a threshold of volume? Like, how do you make that decision to say, you know what? Great, but the changeover, the whole effort, I just don't have enough volume for that. Or is it flexible
Kenny,
enough that you can do that?
Because this technology will work for both sides of the fence. If you're low volume, high mix, you can still be bringing pallets down, working on things during the day, and running some stuff at night so it can happen. But for us, it's pretty much, hey, how long can we make that machine run while we're not here? So that's the first thing that will drop into the machines based on the volume and the hours that we can run. And that's all gets vetted out pretty much up in the engineering department when we come down, or when we're selecting something like maybe a neck trial that we're bringing in. We make 30,000 a year, and it's not just the unattended run, but we're also, with this technology, we're able to remove operations, a turning operation, a grooving operation, making ship breakers. We're deburring parts on the machines because we don't have to take them in and out of the machine. So it's just endless, but you have to be on top of it because that's what these guys need. That's what they want. And that's what will make you competitive moving forward, without a doubt. Did I answer, Kenny? Is that okay? Thank you.
Okay, I think we're about to wrap up. So what one piece of advice would you leave the audience with? Jeff, go for it.
Okay. Technology is going to be changing. It's always going to be moving forward. It's going to be moving forward very fast. And I'll steal a quote that a keynote speaker at the summit that I attended last week, he presented. This is actually a quote from Deming. Change is not necessary. You don't have to change. And then he said, survival's not mandatory. So you can sit there and you can do what you've always done, but I'm here to tell you technologies will pass you by, and your survivorship will be in jeopardy, right? So you have to change. I can guarantee your organizations will all change within the next 5 to 10 years. So the question is, are you going to stay in front of it, or are you going to rest on your laurels?
I totally agree with that, for sure. And I think the point was made. We're in the 4th industrial revolution right now. I'm kind of an older dude now, and I started when I was about 14 at cut metal for my dad. And so I've seen a few of the phases of where we go today, as I've never seen it move this fast. And I remember when the 8088 came out, which was the first PC, I noticed how things move faster because computers were thinking with computers, and they were getting us to the means end quicker and faster and better, where we were programming on graph paper, right? And cosine and all that. So now we're using a piece of software to do it. So it's just rolling. But now I've never seen it move so fast. So again, it's not going to change. It's imminent. It's here. You should probably stay on it if you're going to be in the business and you're going to lead the way. So, really, that's the crux of where does AI and automation, data and analytics end? I don't think it ever ends in my career. I think we're going to be utilizing that forever. But basically, what we say is, what got us here won't get us there. It just won't. We have to do things differently all the time and stay up with the times and make it. So embrace it, guys. It's not going anywhere. And if there's one other thing I can give you with all this AI and machine talk, just surround yourself with the best humans you can find, because you can't do this by yourself. It's a team effort. You may be the leader, but it's all those foot soldiers that are out there doing their pieces, and with the open minds and the excitement and the passion. If you get the passion going, it's all over for everybody else, because you're just going to succeed, And that's my spell there. Yeah.
Great. Thank you both so
Sure.
much. Thank you for our audience and the
course.
questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.